In the early 1980s, Gabriel presented a paper at the first International Homeopathic Conference, and 25 cases healed with homeopathy, 25 out of 25. So first let's get that homeopathy does work for treating depression. Okay? Just start with that. Now, of course, there are different remedies for different things, and we can't go into the full homeopathic thing, but the fact is homeopathy worked. That was the only thing we used. It was a very clear scientific paper. Now, we take a kind of an approach where we use homeopathy and at the same time use a variety of neurotransmitter precursors that build the system up, because we're not interested in showing homeopathy works. I already know that. Okay? And so when I combine those two together, it helps. And then the 0-point course to deal with the other issues. And then you have to look at your whole life and say, well, what is going on? Why am I depressed? Is this something that we call endogenous depression, which is I've had my whole life, my mother had it, my grandmother had it, whatever? Or is it a situational depression? There are all these things like that. So the suggestion is go back to your homeopath. Maybe you need the next potency up, but do know it does work. But again, we have a pretty full-on program here, which is about 90% successful. And one of our specialties, as you probably know, is taking people off medications. But you're not on any medications, right?
No.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So I would just go back to the homeopath and say, well, I got results. It's faded out. What next? And he may change the remedy, but often we just increase the potency of the remedy, and it goes a little bit deeper.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
I've been waiting to ask you for a while. I was just wondering about grinding seeds. And it seems to me like animals in the wild use, or that a plant has seeds so that they can be replanted in the soil through our excretion. So when we grind our seeds, is that natural? Are they gonna have some sort of toxins to our digestive system that we're not really supposed to be digesting them? Or?
I understand. Did everybody hear the question?
No.
Okay, so when you grind seeds, are we breaking the cycle of nature? Is really what the question is. And the answer is, maybe the animals probably are chewing their seeds a little bit. You know, if you're talking about a cow, it's going to be grinding it because it has those kind of teeth. So there are many levels to the question, okay? So first of all, most seeds have digestive blockers, antitrypsin, antihemoglobins, that in essence block your uptake. They're subtle poisons. And the word poison isn't quite exact. They're digestive blockers. Now, in soy, raw soy, they fed rats raw soy and all of them died. Why? Because they died of malnutrition. So it will block your digestive uptake. That's how plants deal with this. So that's why we suggest soaking the seeds. Okay. Now the next question is, well, we're gonna make a smoothie. We're gonna make a seed pate. We're gonna make tahini dressing. Whatever we're gonna do, are we breaking those? Well, to a certain extent, we are. And this brings us into the whole thing about the green smoothies. Things like juice feasting. We're kind of altering kind of the flow of nature. And every time we use a blender, we're creating electromagnetic fields into what we're doing. We're creating imbalances. This is not what we need, So Gabriel's tendency is to go with a more natural thing like chew your food well, and in that process we're mimicking nature. I mean, we are nature. And I think that's good. And then we can go a little further and say, well, it didn't rain, so we're going to soak the seeds. Okay. And maybe that's as far as we should go, but when we start looking at getting 2 pounds of greens a day, it's like, that's gluttonous. I mean, I can't imagine, but that's what we recommend in some of the programs. And there are reasons for that. You know, the whole issue of juice feasting is, you know, which we haven't kind of endorsed very specifically for long-term use, for use of weight primarily, but not really for any other reason. Fasting is far more powerful, far more effective, and far faster, and far simpler. Okay? So, you know, 1 week fast a few times a year will take you way beyond that. Now, on the other hand, if you're trying to work, hold a job, do all this, then, you know, taking juice feasting with, you know, blended smoothies and juices has a real role. But if we're a little patient, the average weight loss for people on live food is about 100 pounds a year if they have that weight to lose. So you're going to lose the weight anyway. If you just go live food and eat it appropriately, you're going to lose 100 pounds a year. That's plenty. And then the idea of building up, again, over time, you know, you can do this. But, you know, because see, food isn't about amount. It's about energy. It's about blessing food, the return of the energy. And you want to release the energy. You want to pull the energy out. And that's why you have people who can live on water alone. We know that. There's some guy up in the Himalayas, a Buddhist, who living on water only for 40 years. And people came up and studied him, meaning they followed around for 2 years. Just, is this guy cheating? What's he doing? He wasn't cheating. So we know we have that capacity. We're not recommending you do that. What we are recommending is you look deeply into, am I aligned with nature when I'm blending up and making the green smoothies? Okay, is it a trick? Yes. Does it help people get used to the greens? Some people it does. But we do also know that if you just have a little discipline and you just chew your food, you're making the proper smoothie without all that magnetic things. And when you chew, something amazing happens. You stimulate serotonin production in your brain. So we're tending to move away, you know, within the live food movement into all the gimmicks. And it's a gimmick, not in a bad way, but it moves us away from a natural approach. It's like, what, I mean, are we blender deficient? No. God didn't put blenders in the fields, right? So we have to look at that in a simple way and say, well, you know, when I chew, when I contemplate on the food, when I really am conscious, you're just going to pull in more food, more energy from the food. Truth is, only 10% of the energy we pull in is from food. The rest is more the oxygen and other levels of energy. So I think that the whole question about seed takes us into all these other levels. And so where's the line? Well, we're modern, we live in the city, but, you know, we can soak our seeds, we can chew them, you know, we make our seed pâtés. We can make some variations because people need a certain amount of variation, or some people do, to feel, you know, okay, so they're not bored by their food. But how far do we go? You know, when you think about taking 2 pounds of greens you know, a day, it's huge. You know how big, I mean, it's like, that's a lot. It's like, that's not normal. But we can do it if we do smoothies. And the rationale is it helps build up your nutrition, all which is probably true. But at the other hand, there's something very imbalanced ecologically about that, if you follow. It's like, we're just not meant to eat that much. Yes?
It seems to be good for like transition, for somebody that has all these cravings and is used to all of this junk and stuff. So when they do these smoothies, it stops all that craving, and then slowly they get used to it. After that, they won't need it anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's true, but we're not, Gabriel's not really sure that people stop doing that. You know, people begin to incorporate, well, I'm going to have my green smoothie, I'm going to do this, and